It's got me going around in circles, and I'm probably going to choke up because it's a sad story on the Indianapolis. I was a train machinist made by Boston. So the first ship I got, in 1943 when I got out of Wentworth, I was waiting for the USS Sumter to be built in Baltimore, Maryland, a brand new ship to haul 1,000 Marines to fight the Japanese, the ship I'm going to go on. It's going to have 1,000 Marines to fight the Japs, go on the canal and those places. So I'm waiting at Pier 92 in New York City after Wentworth. I'm waiting for this ship to be built. So in the meantime, they had me shoveling coal in a World War I cruiser. They had captured World War I. They were using the boilers for Pier 92, a Navy pier. And they had me shoveling coal. There were 2 boiler places. The opening was that big with red coal, with nice duty, just shovel coal in a World War I German cruiser. So after a while, my ship was built. So I went down to Baltimore, Maryland. I got on the USS Sumter, a brand new ship. And the captain of the ship says to the sailors, he says, tomorrow morning, we're going to go through the Panama Canal. He says, and the German U-boats are sinking all the ships. Sanford Airport, those airplanes were looking for U-boats from Bangor to Baltimore, Maryland. That's what that airport was for, Sanford Airport. The Navy was there, 1942. Anyway, so they were sinking all the ships, any ships, British ships, American ships, they were sinking them. So anyway, the captain of the ship says, the German U-boats are waiting for us. We got to go, the shortest way to go to the Panama Canal, he says, we got to go between Cuba and Haiti. By the way, he says, gentlemen, they call that Torpedo Junction. So at 8 o'clock on September 12th, 1943, I'm on that ship in the engine room, and the captain of the ship at 8 o'clock, September 12th, he come on here and goes, hey sailors, guess what? They missed us. I saw the wake fore and aft. True story. So I headed for the Panama Canal. I'm going to have to make this fast because there's so much to it. The Panama Canal, you go into Cologne. How wide do you think that isthmus is? How wide do you think the land is to go through from Atlantic to Pacific in the Panama Canal? It's 51 miles. It takes all day long to go through there. So it takes all day. We started at Cologne. That's a town on this side, of the Atlantic side. You go a few thousand feet on the canal, and then you hit Gordon Lock. It's 85 feet high, higher than any tree around here. The ship goes up for 85 feet, higher than any tree around here, 85 feet. And the water comes from Gordon Lake. Now, when you're 85, and the ship goes up this fast, 85 feet. Now you hit a freshwater lake, Gordon Lake. It's 31 miles. From here to the other side of Portland. You're going to sail in fresh water for 31 miles, Gordon Lake. And so the ship sails for 31 in fresh water. Now you hit 2 locks, the Miraflores and another one to lower you down to the Pacific Ocean. You have been sailing for 8 hours to get to Panama City. You are more easterly than you started. You've been going for 8 hours from east to west. You are more because of the Isthmus of Panama, the land. And I could get off the story about the Trace River. On the other side of that, there's a river. I'm just going to get off the subject for 1 minute on pirates. I got interested in pirates too. So the pirates before Columbus was all the way down to South America, in Peru and Chile. They didn't want to go Cape Horn, Terra del Fuego, land of fire around Magellan Strait with their little ship. They had to go across the Panama Canal. But there's a river, the Trace River. Believe it or not, the Trace River starts from Panama City. It's a pretty big river, and it goes it's 51 miles. It goes for 40 miles. The little ship with a cargo of gold, the pirate, they had forts protecting each other. You had the gangs of pirates fighting, the Lachique, the Blackbeard, Bluebeard, all them pirates, they were fighting for the gold. So they had to protect their own gold between themselves. But they finally got way up to the Atlantic Ocean, 10 miles away. Now they got to go up the mountain. So they unloaded their gold. They had mules. They had one of the mules over. Then they had their other boats on the Atlantic side to England. And that went on for years and years. After Columbus, right up until the Panama Canal was built in 1913. That went on the pirate trade, the Trace River. And I'm sure if I went there today, With a metal injectors, I could find where the battles were lost between the pirates. They were all dead, and their gold, they'd hide it, that you could find gold there. But that's another story. But anyway, so I'm all across the Panama. I go to San Diego with the USS Sumter, and I had leave. I went up to San Jose, California. I met Judy Garland. She was serving us tea and coffee and fruits. Judy Garland was working for the Hollywood Canteen. So I met Judy Garland in 1943, 4 years after the Winners of Waller's Bay. I got on my ship, and we headed I missed the Battle of Guadalcanal. I was in the next battle. We had to capture, was 130 ships and thousands of men, Marines, that day. In January of 1944, we had rendezvoused, and so they were trying to get an air base, Kwajalein, on the Solomon Islands. By the way, before I get to the battle, I stopped at Guadalcanal. Our ship needed some vegetables, so we pulled into Palau and Toluga Bay at Guadalcanal. The Japs were still fighting in the jungles then, but they had lost the battle. But I went there with my ship, and we anchored out with a ferry boat. I went with the guys to get vegetables. In the meantime, I walked in the jungles of Guadalcanal for an hour. But anyway, so the battle I was in, the Marianas battle, it lasted for 12 days. 3 days of the battleship softening up the Japanese. The Missouri was there, the Massachusetts battleship, the Iowa, the Indianapolis was there with her 12-inch guns. I wasn't on it then. It would soften up the Japanese for 3 days. After 3 days, it's our turn. The USS Sumter. We're out there about 2,000 feet away from the battle station. Come on, that's me with 1,000 Marines. My battle station, as a machinist, my battle station was to help 1,000 Marines down over the nets. And after I helped them down over the nets, I got on a 5-inch gun to shoot the Zeros away. I was trained to fire 5-inch guns. So I helped those Marines down over the nets. You could almost hear the machine guns waiting for them. We're not far away, only a few thousand feet. They were waiting for these Marines. I said to them, I'll say a prayer for you. You're going to need it. And down they went. And after we got done, and I got on a 5-inch gun to help them. 2 or 3 days later, the battle is still going on. In the meantime, there was an ammunition dump. They blew up a Japanese ammunition. I had pictures of that, but my house burned down. I lost most of my pictures and all my medals when my house burned down 4 or 5 years ago. I lost all of it. Well, you can see where the fire hit this book, smoke. So I only saved a few of my pictures, but I had pictures of this ammunition dump. It went up so high that the coral landed on my ship, but it didn't hurt us. But there's a guy named John Tuller after the war, getting off the track. He was a Marine. He was there on that big ammunition. I talked to him and interviewed him in Sanford. John Tuttle's his name. He's dead now. But he told me I was there that day. We lost 20 Marines, got blown up when that big ammunition dump blew up at Guadalcanal. But anyway, the battle lasted for 12 days. Finally, the battle was over. So my ship was getting ready for Saipan invasion. We went down to Noumea, New Caledonia, to get out of the Japanese submarines. So they sent us ships. Oh, by the way, after 3 or 4 days, I would help these wounded Marines back on my ship because we had a big sick bay, so we could transfer them back to the hospital ships. But after the battle was all over, we went down to Noumea, New Caledonia. That's a French island east of Australia. We went down there. Then we were getting ready for the Saipan invasion, but they came to me and they said, Raymond, we need you back on a new ship in Baltimore, Maryland, in the engine room. You're going to miss Saipan. Do you want to go? You want to go there instead of going to Saipan? I said, yep, put me on a ship. I'll go on a new ship. I'll miss Saipan invasion. They put me on the Henry Berg, a Liberty ship, and 25 miles from San Francisco. We were so crowded on that ship, little bunk, canvas, 1,000 passengers on this Henry Berg. I could touch 8 people from where I slept, 8 of them. The one on top of me, the one under me, the one on the side. I could touch 8 men. That's how crowded we are on the Henry Berg. 1,000. Never made it. 25 miles from San Francisco at 4 o'clock in the morning on June of, I forget, June 13th, 1945. This ship runs on a pile of rocks. The date's right up here, June something. Here, at 4 o'clock in the morning in a storm, the Henry Berg. It hits a pile of rocks. It breaks in two. I'm down there, 3 decks down. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm all dressed up because I'm going to hit San Francisco in the afternoon. So this is 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm all ready to get off the darn ship and get onto my ship in Baltimore, Maryland. So when this ship hits the pile of rocks, at 4 o'clock, the whole ship, boom, crash. I said, holy cow, a torpedo. That's what my thoughts were, a torpedo with a jet. So I go up on the top deck, and I'm looking in the water. I see this pile of rocks. This guy runs on a pile of rocks. They call the Farallon. Here's half of the ship singing. Here's the other half singing. That's me when I was 20 years old. I'm on that ship. So I see a pile of rocks. So I came down to the galley that morning. You could just barely see. They could get ready for breakfast. A great big bucket of peaches there. So when I saw the pile of rocks, I'm not worried about that. I can jump in the water and swim to those pile of rocks. I'm not going. And the captain kept saying, everybody abandon ship. Do not go down below decks. Abandon ship immediately. I went downstairs and ate peaches at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I got on a lifeboat. That little lifeboat. I was one of the few people who got into a lifeboat because this ship, they didn't have time to lower lifeboats or anything. A lot of the people got in on the rocks and all that. 1,400 people are on that ship, 1,400. 1,000 passengers and 400 crew on the Henry Berg. But I was lucky enough, I got into a little lifeboat, and we could have gone, but the oil was on the water, so it was bad to try to get on the rock. The waves are that high, so that little boat got all broken probably, and we'd get all oiled up. I said, let's just float. We're going to get picked up sometime. We're not far from San Francisco. So we drifted all day, and the worst thing was the walruses. They weigh about 2 tons, and they would come under that little lifeboat this far away. And I told the guys, about 20 of us on that little boat, I said, if that guy comes on under though, he's going to flip us. We're all going to be in the water. But we drifted all day. At noontime, an airplane came over and took this picture, probably, that picture. Flew over us about 400 or 500 feet over us. So I told the guys, we're going to get picked up. That airplane, he sees us. We're going to get picked up. So it wasn't until 6:30 that night I got picked up with a little patrol boat. So they took me to San Francisco at Treasure Island, the Navy base. So the doctors told me, Raymond, you got a year's survivor's leave. You don't have to go to Baltimore, Maryland. You can go to any Navy base in the country. You can go right home to Sanford, Maine for a whole year as a survivor, or any Navy base you want to go to. But you had rheumatic fever when you were 10 years old. You had rheumatic fever. And if you went to a warm base for a year, do you a lot of good for your health. So I went to San Diego for a whole year. I was overhauling big engines on ships, Enterprise engines, pistons that big. I was doing that stuff for a whole year. And I saw Eleanor Roosevelt down there, the president's wife of the United States. The biggest zoo in the world, the San Diego Zoo, was down there. I had a good time a whole year. My year is up in June of 1945. Now I'm going to be transferred to a tug at Pearl Harbor to take care of that little motor.